live. I'm not sure. All the issues, municipal, provincial, federal, and any issue of national importance, we will talk about on Point. Good evening and welcome to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program. We're broadcasting to you live from the TCN Network studios right here in the beautiful city of Brampton, right here in Ontario. With me this evening again is Mario Russio. Mario, it's always good to have you.
Jermaine, it's always a pleasure.
All right, so lots to talk about this evening. Coming up on the program, we're going to have a talk as well with Cody Vatcher, who is one of the key community organizers right here in the city of Brampton. We have some conversations, lots happening at City Hall. We'll take a look on that as well coming up in the program. But before we get there, we'll start off on a really challenging note. You know, we had some news over the weekend, Mario, with the passing of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and some other individuals who was with him in his chopper, in his helicopter. And I think that has rocked us, rocked the nation, rocked people all around the world, you know, who would have seen Kobe Bryant, his performance over the years, would have been inspired by him. That was a tragic loss. You know, we want to send our condolences to his family and to all the others who were impacted, all the victims, all the 9 victims who were impacted by this tragedy. We send our condolences.
Yeah, Jermaine, I just wanted to take the moment though to actually speak to the actual people that, or actually just state their names. We all know that Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter Jana were two of the tragic victims. But I also wanted to highlight the Alto Belli family. Father John, Mother Carrie, and daughter Alyssa all perished. Another mother-daughter, Sarah and Peyton Chester, and then another individual, Christina Mauser, and then the pilot, Ara Zobanyan. And I just, I just think it's the outpouring of grief on social media was amazing. We saw how many people were affected. Kobe Bryant, for me personally, there's a special place in my heart. Kobe Bryant, similar to myself, my background is Italian. He grew up in Italy, and when you see him speaking Italian and being someone that just an individual that you see in a small town, it actually resonates, and you take away that stardom factor and put it on a personal level. So I just wanted to take that moment to highlight the other individuals as well, because this was a tragedy and so many lives were affected.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we'll talk a bit more about that a bit later in the program as well, but we just want to pause to acknowledge that. And also, just want to send out our condolences as well from the team here at On Point to leader of the Ontario NDP, Andrea Holbrook, who lost her mother as well a day or 2 ago. So I want to recognize that and send our condolences. All right, so let's talk about politically here in Brampton. We also recognize our Tamil community. Yes. You know, this month has been Tamil Heritage Month, so we want to start off by acknowledging all in the Tamil community here in Brampton. Also want to send our condolences to our celebrations we have to Indo-Canadian community, you know, who on Sunday mark the India Republic Day. That's basically almost the Independence Day. So I want to send our shouts out to all the members of the Indo-Canadian community who are celebrating. You know, we have a lot of celebration in Brampton.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend. I had events to the Indo-Canadian Independence Day flag raising on Sunday, the Tamil celebration on Friday, and I believe also you were alluding to
the Chinese New Year. So our members, to the members, our greetings to the members of the Chinese community who celebrated the Chinese New Year on Sunday as well. So lots to celebrate there.
Celebrating the year of the rat.
Oh, interesting. And the celebration continues this Friday, Friday the 1st of February, kick off Black History Month. with our very own Kimberly Ajabalade, who is on this program as well. She'll be hosting that opening celebration at City Hall this Friday. So
I'll be awaiting my personal invite as well. I'm waiting for that invite.
I'll let her know that. So let's talk about some things. On Friday last week, the premier was in town, and he brought $20 million with him to donate towards crime fighting measures here in the city of Peel. You know, we have heard, guns and gangs have been operating in our city. They've been operating in Toronto. Funds were allotted to Toronto, but nothing came to Peel. They made it good this time by coming to Peel to have some investment, some real resources in our police service so they can police the city much better.
Yeah, Jermaine, it was amazing. Yourself and I, the On Point team, were there to hear it live. Councillor Jermaine Williams. It was a full house, and that's one thing that was very impressive. We had the premier. We had
we have some pictures of that as well. If we can show some of those pictures.
Let's speak to. We had the Solicitor General. We had the Attorney General. We had MPPs. We had both mayors, Mayor Crombie and Mayor Brown. We had also the Chief of Police and the Chair of the region. This was the collaboration and something that we've been looking so forward to. The fact that we have had this announcement and it's almost an expression of we're all there together and we're actually fighting something that a lot of politicians have alluded to. Crime doesn't have an area code, and really when we work collaboratively, these dollars are going to go far. Chief Nish spoke to that a lot of the resources are underfunded, and this is not going to fix it all. There's a lot of things to do, but it's a step in the right direction. For sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we need to be able to ensure that our police service have the tools that they need. And a lot of it is resources. Let's make sure that we have enough vehicles to get from point A to point B. Is to make sure that we have sufficient stations. For example, in Brampton here, we have a new station that we're looking to get into our downtown core, because that's one of the challenges where things happen in the downtown. It's hard for police to get to there. But when you have police more centrally located, then it's easier for them to get to places. As well as, when people see the presence of the police in the community, then it acts as a deterrent.
Correct.
For the people to commit crime. So we're very happy for that $20 million, and we look forward to see, how far that will go.
Yeah.
To kind of curb crime within our city.
The reality is we're going to need a lot more. But this is one thing I stress for a lot of other scenarios. It's not about just throwing money at the problem. It's finding solutions, finding ways to solve the problem and work collaboratively to get there. One of the things that I stress that, and we've spoken about this, is all tiers of government have to come together. At the federal level, we do need some bill reform, and Premier Ford spoke to that. On the provincial side, we need dollars. We need support here in the region of Peel. And at the regional level, we got to work collaboratively with all members of Peel to recognize that this is something that affects us all.
Yeah, and there's a social component to that as well. A part of it, yes. You look at what are some of the reasons why young people get involved in crime.
Yes.
What are some of the reasons why some people do
Absolutely.
that? You might need to be investing in these communities as well. We talk about sports at the beginning of the program. But some of these monies could also go towards good investing in good sports program activities, so they can keep young people active and engaged in our community.
The socioeconomic component is massive. When you don't have whether it be sports, whether it be programming, I'm going to give a shout out to the Boys and Girls Club of Peel. There's so many good groups out there that actually do so much for the community. And when we're able to get the youth off the streets and give them something to aspire to, the problem of enforcement diminishes. It's never going to go away, but it diminishes. Yeah,
but at least you have to also show the people that you really care. You can't really police your way out of it. You can't go and lock up everybody who is out there.
Absolutely.
So you got to get into that prayer where we are diverting, some of the energies for the young people that will be otherwise challenged for bad purposes, to make sure that we are putting them in good conditions. So I'm hoping that we will see some of this money actually get into that, deterrent, that diversion, rather than just trying to get out there and police our way out of it.
Well, again, to be real on the component or the aspect of money, the $20 million is probably going to be going directly, as it should, to the gangs and gangs, to the operations. That being said, to the point I mentioned earlier, is that we need a lot more funding for those grassroots organizations, for things that actually avoid people getting involved in crime.
Yeah.
So absolutely, this is something that I saw good promise by having so many levels of government there and so many representatives. Granted, a lot of representatives are there when there is a camera present, but we're going to hold them to account.
Oh yeah, for sure. We hope we'll get those CCTV cameras as well on our highways, so that when anything happens, it's easy to track down and people will know that listen, you won't escape. Because infrastructure is in place where you will be captured and you will be brought to justice. All right, so we'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to turn our attention to the city of Brampton and some motions and actions that is taking place right there. Stay with us. This is On Point. Awesome, Cody.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program, broadcasting live from the TCN Network studios here in the beautiful city of Brampton. And we also wanted our viewers know that you can support the TCN Network. Right, the TCN Network provide a platform for us to have important conversations, and there is a TCN Network store. We will put that website up. You can go to that website. You can purchase items from the website, and that will go towards helping to keep the TCN Network studios bringing you a good amount of news and good education programs. Join us right now, Cody. Cody, you're back with us. Cody sometimes sits in as one of our panelists, but today he's here as one of our guests. Cody, let's start off a few things. Maria, I was saying today as I prepared for the show, with all the challenges that we have in our city, the crime, the issue of low employment, the majority of our residents are leaving to find work, the traffic gridlock that we face in our city, the high insurance rates to insure our vehicles. This city council, this particular council seems to spend a lot of time talking about signs. And they talk about signs last week, and it caught your attention. Tell us a little bit, Cody, about what is going on with this signs debate here at the city.
Well, this is an important issue because the vote to ban election signs that happened at a Brampton City Council meeting last week was after a closed-door debate that was, quote, long and exhaustive, according to Mayor Brown. It's likely illegal, and it breaches the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, so it's really important. And the fact that this motion was not listed on the agenda, and there was no notice to the over 160 people who ran for office in 2018 is definitely alarm.
So we have a couple of motion there. We could put a motion up on the screen for you so individuals can take a look at the motion. Now, a few things here, Cody. I put out a question out there to members of council. The mayor responded. Councillor Vicente also responded. And let's look at the motion. So the motion basically, it's a bit hard to read from here, but basically what the motion is saying is that individuals are no longer allowed to put up signs that bears their image or their names, on particular lawns, is what the mayor is saying. But he said that this does not ban election signs. This is just basically outside of the campaign season. Right. But what's your concern with it?
Well, my concern is the fact that the term candidate, they included candidate in there. The term candidate is a legal one. In a federal, provincial, and municipal election acts, you can only be a candidate during the writ or election period.
Okay.
A person can only be a candidate if they're registered as a candidate. And you can only be registered during an election period.
Yeah.
So I understand, but if this was about elected officials, then why was there a part in the motion that talked about candidates when you can't be a candidate outside of an election period?
So it's a bit problematic there, the inclusion of the word candidates in terms of how the motion is written. Because in terms of Mario, you're only a candidate during an election season when you have been duly nominated.
Yeah.
So,
I've taken some time and spent and analyzed this motion and really, to be respectful to all, is I just believe that this motion was brought forward in a hastily manner after they've had a long in-camera session and they wanted to get something and vote on it. This is just my own personal belief, because I do not believe that this is a well-worded motion. And again, no knock to anyone that brought the motion forward, Mayor Brown or Councillor Medeiros, but it doesn't speak, it leaves things very vague. And when you leave things very vague, it's open to interpretation. And I think this is what's been occurring over the weekend, is it's open to interpretation. Because when you say that there's a ban on signs, and then you start putting elected officials and candidates, then there's open to interpretation and also having dialogue where people like Cody or whomever else can actually speak to the specifics and say, well, now you're actually getting to election signs. I actually took the time to go to the clerk's office and try and get some understanding of what's going on. So the council had brought forward a motion to discuss election signs last year. And there is actually a referred item, and I have the item here, and it is referred item RM 84/219. 2019. The reason I bring that up is that this is supposed to be coming back to council apparently in March or expected to. So the reason I bring that up is that actually allows, and Cody said something very important, is that allows the public to be aware of what's going on and to ask those relevant questions. Understanding that there is a in-camera portion, and that allows for people and legalities not to be brought out. But if it's not on the agenda, people don't know that this is going. How are we going to ask the right questions?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And that's one of your concerns as well, Cody, that the other persons who might have an interest in running an election weren't informed.
To me, it's just not right that a simple majority of 6 councillors get to curb the Charter of Rights for 600,000 residents. There's a reason why I wear my Canadian flag on my lapel all the time. It was illegal for them to debate this motion in private, and it was illegal for them to ban it indefinitely. And that's the key, because in the 2007 legal case of Peter Sherman versus the City of Vaughan, and that legal decision I have right here in my hands, you can find it at home online, a judge ruled, a judicial ruling, not a legal opinion, a judicial ruling said that it was against the charter for the City of Vaughan to restrict election signs. And according to this motion, that's exactly what the City of Brampton is going to do. So,
or look into.
Right.
And that's where my scenario is that there is an indefinite period, but the indefinite period doesn't allow us to understand how long that's going to be, because a sign bylaw review could be a week or it can be a year. So I don't know how long that's going to be as a resident. And then also an amendment there to what amendment are you going to do that supersedes legislation? That's the question.
So let's look at a social media post that Mayor Brown, because I posed a question to Mayor Brown on social media. And basically what he says is that there's no funding loss, because I asked a question about, there are other, we'll get to that in the other section. But he indicated that the only thing that this bylaw wanted, they intend to do with this bylaw is to make sure that there are no signs on people's lawns outside of the election period. Why is that sufficient for you, Cody? Is that not sufficient? Good explanation?
You can't temporarily, and this is what the court case says. This is what the court case said. It's a precedent, a legal precedent, a legal ruling. You can't temporarily put people's rights a ban. If a Brampton City Council member resigns, retires, or dies, we could all have a by-election next month, and this would apply.
Well, I don't think would that impact that though? Because now you would be in the election season. So during election season, signs would be allowed.
But
This applies to the entire bylaw, not just exemptions. This applies to the entire bylaw. If Brampton City Council member resigns, retires, or dies, we could all have a by-election next week.
And that's where my point of contention was exactly that. I mean, you raised the by-election. I was saying exactly the same thing. We're in a minority government federally.
Yeah.
There may be a federal election next month. I'm being very facetious when I say that because it's very, very unlikely that either of those scenarios occur. But to that point of when I was talking about wording on this motion is that it leaves it open to have that debate and not then you have this debate which was predominantly on social media, which can be problematic in itself, that this is open to this is right and this is wrong. This is because you're not specific in your wording, and that's where I think the flaw in this. Now, again, this is not carved in stone. There is aspects that council can say, well, this is a review for this. It's just the lack of specificity is where I have a problem.
Right.
Okay, Cody, we have a last minute up here. Anything you want to add finally? Because we're going to wrap up this segment here, Cody. So we're going to give the last word to you. What else do you want to talk to people about out there watching about this particular, your concern about this particular bylaw or motion?
I decided to speak out because I think it's not right that a simple majority of 6 councillors get
10.
to
It was
curb,
10. It was 10.
But the majority, you need
Correct.
a majority to
Yep,
pass.
absolutely.
So a majority of 6 councillors get to curb the Charter of Rights of 600,000 residents. This is about charter rights, freedom of expression. This court case that I have here, 2007 legal case, says that the city of Vaughan versus Sherman, a judge ruled that it was against the charter for the city of Vaughan to restrict election signs. So I'm calling on Brampton Council to reverse its decision, or I'm going to take them to court.
Okay, there you have it. On Point is always breaking news. The city of Brampton, you are under notice from our Brampton resident here, Mr. Cody Vatcher, that you either reverse this decision or that you will have to answer to it in court. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue the conversation. Cody, thanks for joining us, and we wish you the best wishes as you fight to protect the rights of Bramptonians. Stay with us. We take a quick commercial break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
My name is Trish Curling, and I am an online coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher, and your new host of Shaping Life, which is all about understanding that we have the ability and the control to take charge of our health and wellness. But we can't do it alone, and I can't wait to sit down with the best in the industry. Please tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. live here on the TCN Network.
Welcome back to On Point. You can always depend on On Point to bring you the latest in breaking news and breaking stories. So, lots to talk about there, Mario, in terms of election signs. But let's kind of expand the conversation a little, Mario, if you will. Because here is one of the things that, the mayor said on social media that what they were hoping to do is to restrict or to ban the use of signs on people's lawns outside of the election period. But there is a sign. Now, we put it up as well. There's a bus stop that has signs on it.
Yeah.
If you look in cities like Mississauga and stuff like that, we also see billboards with elected officials on it. What the mayor says is that on the city's hardware, these furniture, rather they call it, city's furniture, these signs are still allowed to be on the city's furniture. So, and I was asking about the difference between this, something that is telling residents about, how you can contact your MPP, as well as political advertising. Where do we draw the line?
Good question. I don't know. The reason why, and it was a good question that you posed. I had seen that the urban furniture, as Mayor Brown had put, is still allowed. It just, again, I allude back to the motion, is that it creates more confusion than answers. Is that if one is allowed, why is the other not allowed?
Yeah.
And I think to that point is that, and respectfully, because I think Mayor Brown did his homework when he answered that question, is that I think when you read a bylaw at length, there is more specificity into what's allowed and what's exempt and so forth. There is time and there's legalities that are put into those bylaws. But this motion doesn't speak to any of that. It speaks very almost theoretically, but it encompasses it all.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, who I pride myself in doing the homework, I'm still confused. There's another one that was brought to my attention. There's a councillor that has one of those portable signs that is rentable for a skate or a barbecue. Now, is that allowed? It lends itself to criticism. And when you lend yourself to criticism, you're going to have some residents going for it's okay. So it becomes very divisive, as opposed to, most of these things are for, again, a community barbecue or skate. Great. I think everyone should know about it. An MPP letting people know where her constituency office is and so forth. It's
the
important.
Services you can access
services,
to the office. So let's back up a little bit, because some people might be wondering, we're talking a lot for those who are in the know. So on one hand, we had a city councillor who put out some signs and allowed people to be able to apply for those signs. The sign says slow down. So some slow down signs like kids at play. One of the challenge that we have here, as we see the timer run, one of the challenge that we have here is that the slow down kids at play sign had a website written on it, that when you go to that website, it had the image and the phone number and the picture of the particular city councillor, right? So this bylaw, according to what the mayor has clarified on social media, was put in place to make sure that a city councillor cannot have anything that points to them on people's lawns outside of an election season, right? On the other hand, however, we now have a situation where an MPP in Brampton have signs up on urban furniture. And we have also seen them as well on billboards, right? And as you know, rightly say, another city councillor is now having a family skate in the next week or 2 weeks, and you saw a sign out there on the road advertising that family skate. So the question is, where do we draw the line? What exactly are we allowing and what we are not allowing?
Are there two sets of rules? I mean, that's what is created, is that you don't understand. And when you don't have a clear set of rules, I mean, listen, I watched that council meeting and I left after they passed this motion, and it was passed 10-1, as I alluded to, is that I'm still more confused because a couple of the councillors said, I'm going to support the motion because the signs are allowed. I still can't get a clear understanding of that. And you know why I can't get a clear understanding? Because I wasn't privy to a conversation that was held in confidence, in camera, which is a necessity. But then when it comes out of camera, there has to be some context. So whether it be some clarity from the solicitor, what they're allowed to, I still don't understand how you voted for something, but then which contradicts in verbiage to something that you actually voted for. It's unclear, and this is where I think the problem is stemming.
I would love for one of our mayor or one of our councillors, as they obliged me the last time around by responding to my post on social media. I would love, Mr. Mayor, if you're watching, member of the council, if you could probably provide some clarity about why is it that one sign with a website pointing to having the councillor's information is not allowed, but another councillor is allowed to put up his sign saying, "Come to my family skate." We kind of just want to know why there's a difference
I think
there.
this is let's be truthful. This is an information gathering exercise.
Yeah.
Because when you have the information, you're able to provide it and give people context. And right now, the information is very murky at best, and we don't want to be construed of having two sets of rules.
Yeah.
One for elected officials and one for candidates. To that point. So we want to make sure that there's a level playing field. And I do highlight again, as I mentioned earlier, is that there will be something coming back to council because there was an actual referral last year for the costs and benefits related to banning election signs. That's specific to election signs. So at least we can speak to that. They do, in that analysis, I'm pretty sure staff who are competent will take into that equation things that Mr. Vatcher mentioned in terms of legal precedent. These are things that have to be, and that's what staff is. They're an expert that then council comes back and provides a decision, but they need to base it on evidence. And they may have done so in this, but we can't see where that evidence came because
nothing is probably in the public. But another issue though, as we had Cody on earlier, and I mean, I haven't read the case that Cody referred to while he was here. But you kind of say, and it's the first question I asked when Cody came on, a city that has so much to deal with, a city that has to be dealing with crime, a city that has to deal with issues of low employment opportunities within our city, a city that has to deal with a traffic gridlock situation where the cost of housing is way outside the affordability of most young people, most young professionals, where affordable housing is almost non-existent. Seniors home is almost non-existent.
Yeah.
Why are they so preoccupied when the city of Vaughan have a ruling, as according to what Cody has said, that says, listen, you can't do this, you can't ban election sign. This council has sent more items to staff in 1 year than the previous council did in all 4 years. The question is,
this is a small sheet of referred items. Absolutely.
If you have precedents, why are you using up the taxpayers' dollars to be going down on issues as trivial as signs?
Listen, I think, yeah, you're 100% right. We're getting lost in the weeds.
We need people at City Hall who are going to be a bit more focused. We seem to be going off in the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
We're not focused.
I'm going to take the aspect of defending the fact that if this becomes a question by the public, they need to answer it. And similar to the talk show right now, we're spending time on there's a lot more important issues, but we're spending a couple segments on this because I think the reality though is because we're not answering the questions. Is that if this was clear cut and really truthfully there was not political agendas perhaps in play, then we can answer this question, go on and deal with the important issues.
Well, Mario, let's talk about the tolerance in the democracy, because in a democracy, one of the things that we have is a certain level of tolerance. And we look for example, Premier Ford at the province. One of the things that he did is that he kind of went out, he put up some billboards at the different borders to Ontario that says, welcome to Ontario, whatever, Premier Ford, welcome to Ontario. I was in Jamaica, well, I'm from Jamaica. I was there recently. One of the things that I've seen that they are gone is like every city you go to, there's a big billboard with the mayor of the city that's welcoming you to the city. Mississauga, I've said, I've driven to Mississauga, and just about every riding that you're going to, there's a big billboard with the MPP, advertising themselves or letting you know that they are the MPP with their office address, their contact number, and stuff like that. Shouldn't we be more tolerant as a democracy for people to know exactly who are the elected officials, who do they go to when they have an issue? At 9 o'clock last night, Mario, I received a phone call. One person called me, I answered my phone. It was a lady who had called, and she wanted to find out some information about immigration issues. I wanted to find out if the mayor could help her with the immigration issue. And I said to her, well, immigration is kind of the prerogative of the MP, so you probably should talk to your MP in your area. The next question came was, who is my MP?
Yes, absolutely.
The next question that came. I was able to say
time.
to her, this is your MP. And I got her a phone number and I said, call the MP's office, make an appointment. But if the MP was able to say, okay, let's have a sign or a billboard or something that says, I'm the MP for the area, my office address is here, call me, these are the services you can get. Isn't that needed or something good in a healthy democracy?
Well, absolutely. And to that point, though, I think that is allowed. And we see, and we've actually get clarification that certain MPPs have taken it upon themselves to do that. I mean, we're in a world of marketing, advertising, and social media. We're bombarded with that information, and in a way, rightfully so. But if there's, one of the debates here is the fact that incumbents have such a strong hold because they're advertising for 4 years potentially, and that's one of the debates that is starting to come up.
But to your point on that though, Mario, yes, when you have your billboards out there, you're getting, people are seeing you, but at the same time, if you're doing a crappy job, if people's taxes are going out the roof, if people's roads are and snow is not being cleaned properly, for example, here in the city, people should also know who to blame and who to make sure the next time they go to the polls not to vote for.
But we again, that's the fact, we have that.
Yeah.
What's getting lost in here is it allowed or not? And what's happening is that prior to this motion, I thought it was pretty clear. The fact, though, is that this motion right now makes it a little bit unclear even to myself, who, again, like I said, I pride myself on getting the information, but I don't even think the information is clear because it's open to debate. And this is where I think there has to be. And listen, things and people are not perfect, even in particular motions, is that it can be revamped, it can be whatever. The reality, though, is that this leaves us with questions. And when it leaves us with questions, this debate is open, and you're going to have people siding with one or the other. And to your point earlier, let's get away from that. There are so many more important issues that we need to deal with. Economic development in our city, crime and safety, all those aspects. And yes, we get lost in the weeds of talking about, I use the analysis so often is that, when someone steals something, they'll steal a few erasers and they'll be persecuted and sent to jail. Meanwhile, people are stealing millions and billions, and oftentimes they get reelected. That's the problem, right?
That's a challenge right here. All right, stay with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back for our final segment, we talk more Canadian politics. The Conservative Party is searching for a leader, and we have a few thoughts on that. Stay with us.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
All right, we're back at it again. On Points, your political and current affairs talk show program. You can always depend on us for the latest of important issues that matter to you as Canadians. So the Conservative Party is looking for a new leader. You will recall that the current leader who ran in the last election, Andrew Scheer, announced his intention to step down. And the party has started the process to find a new leader. So we have a few people who have jumped into the race, and we have some websites here we'll show you as well. Peter MacKay on the weekend launched his campaign over there in Nova Scotia. He's from Nova Scotia, has represented that area in Parliament before. Is a former Minister of Justice, former Attorney General as well, and hold a few offices within the Harper government. Mr. Aaron O'Toole, who is also a former cabinet minister as well, and Stephen Harper, have also launched his bid to be the next leader of the Conservative Party. And we have
formally announced?
He went out to Alberta and he has announced his campaign out in Alberta.
Yes,
he has announced his campaign. His website is also up and running. We'll show you the websites as we go along. As well, we have some new entries into the race. I have to mention Leswin Lewis. Disclaimer: my friend Leswin Lewis, somebody who I know very well, an attorney at law. Dr. Leslie Lewis, actually, who is also entered the race. So we have a lot of persons who are declaring their intentions to run. What do you make of the race so far? Your impressions of what's going on so far in this race.
Well, I think it's actually very early, but we've already seen some interesting twists. Anytime leadership starts to form or these leadership bids, it's a matter of getting grassroots support and getting some of the larger support bases, and also having some MPs and so forth come out and endorse. Peter MacKay, at this point in time, I think is the front runner, just because of his historical, let's call it, not holdings, but a lot of his positions that he held in the past. But Aaron O'Toole is a strong contender as well. If I'm not mistaken, being third on the ballot last leadership. This process, though, is fundamentally one of the most important processes to any party. So when you're choosing leadership, one thing that I stress, and I stress this at the municipal, the federal, as long as this is a respectful process, as long as everyone's doing it and fights clean and gets their name and their message out there, this is the fundamental for democracy.
But one of the things I realized, though, I saw Peter MacKay's campaign, and we're talking a bit more about that as well. I saw Oren O'Toole, Leslie Lewis, they have put out their different positions. Leslie Lewis talking about, common sense, compassion, and stuff like that. One of the things that we're also looking at is that people are really fighting for the soul of the Conservative Party as to where is this Conservative Party going. Peter MacKay, for example, came out just today and say, sent in his application to march in the Pride Parade. That was one of the issues that Andrew Scheer was criticized for, in terms of not marching in the Pride Parade, for example. Interestingly, I haven't seen his application yet to march in the Toronto Carnival Parade. Yes. That's important to me.
Absolutely.
Whether he will go to Toronto Carnival, Parade. Or whether he will go to a Newfoundland kitchen party, but we'll see how that goes, right? Aaron O'Toole seems to be saying he's a true conservative and he wants to unite conservatives. That's an approach we heard Jason Kenney took out in Alberta, that he's going to unite conservatives. Leslie Lewis, is also saying, she's going to bring common sense and compassion back into the Conservative Party. So where does this party go? People are fighting for the soul of the party.
Well, you said it best, though, is that anyone that has a chance or stands a chance of winning has to be the unifier.
Yeah.
And one of the things that taught me as a supporter in the last election is the fact that the Conservatives lost because of this lack of unification. In particular, we saw from the West, and let's call it the East or Central, truthfully, the 905 and the 416 and Quebec. So we need a leader that's going to bring that unification. That being said, one thing that the Conservatives have is this, for lack of better words, double standing. You don't need to be a conservative that is so single-pronged. It's not that a conservative that's financially
fiscal conservative.
A fiscal conservative can also have a social conscience, can be, can understand environment, can do all that.
Yeah.
So this is what's going to be the forefront of this debate. Yeah. One of the things that I think Peter MacKay came out, and I think it's a smart thing to do, is nip some of these conversations in the bud. Whether you agree with it or not, irrelevant. He's said, this is what I'm doing, then that's what he's going to do. One of the knocks to Andrew Scheer was the fact that he tippy-toed around it. And again, I don't believe he did, but that was the media perception. So he now, understanding, anyone that's a scholar of the game is going to say, where were some of the mistakes made? Where am I going to make those corrections?
Yeah, but one of the things that I find interesting, Mario, is that, the Conservative Party have long ago settled some issues. Issues to do with LGBTQ have all been settled within the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party has a definition of what marriage is and recognizes the rights of LGBTQ people.
Correct.
The Conservative Party, under Stephen Harper, the last 10 years that we were in power, guaranteed equal rights for irrespective of whoever you marry. So I'm not sure why we're still having some of these conversations, and I'm not sure if that's that should be the main priority for the next Conservative leader. the priority of the next conservative leader cannot be so much more as to whether or not they march in a pride parade. That's not a priority for the large majority of Canadians. The next conservative leader must remember that it's not just about we're going to be tough on crime, but also how we're going to make the justice system fair and equitable for all Canadians. The next conservative leader really have to kind of see, okay, how do we unite the party? How do we unite conservatives? How do we make sure that we have government working efficiently? How do we make sure that we keep the budget in check and keep deficits in check? How do we manage the economy so that small businesses can grow and people can find a path towards home ownership and to live the Canadian dreams? So there's a lot riding on the next conservative leader, and they can't just come out as trying to define themselves as a one-issue leader.
So Jermaine, that was a mouthful.
It's a lot.
So that was a lot. And you know what? I will say I agree with you wholeheartedly. However, again, understanding there's you're right. There is essentially a double standard with a lot of the conservative candidates in leadership. The reality, though, is that in this leadership, there's going to be two trains of thoughts. One is going to be who's going to win the actual leadership. And then secondly, can that person who wins that leadership actually win an election?
Yeah.
And that's going to be, so I think that's going to be in the back of a lot of people's minds if and when they're supporting a candidate, is that will that person whom I may not be 100% or on side on certain aspects, but will that person be able to win an election? That's an important component, because if you negate that, you can say fundamentally you agree with this 100%, but it doesn't matter. That's not the aptitude of actually winning an election. You have to stand behind your convictions. You have to believe in what you're saying. That's I agree with that 1,000%. The reality, though, is that you also have to understand where there's going to be certain drawbacks. And the drawbacks from my, let's call it, sitting on the sidelines and watching it in the last federal election is what were some of the media criticisms? What were some of the attacks? So again, if you're going to be no different than a business person that's sitting back and formulating a strategic plan, where are some of my good where was I strong and where was I weak? And these are some of the things that I believe in this leadership you're starting to see, and that's a good thing. I think it's important that the candidates recognize that, because at the end of the day, if they just win and they have no chance of winning an election, in a way, for anyone who's a conservative supporter, it's fundamentally a waste of time.
What a big part of the issue, though, Maria, I think, is communicating the conservative message. Because, as I say, a number of these issues have already been settled in the Conservative Party.
Correct.
Right?
But it doesn't come across in media. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
come across in perception.
Well, the media is to an extent. I mean, we're doing media here, but the media is largely liberal. It carries a lot of liberal.
That's where you're 100% right. Is that you have to be true to what you believe in, those principles of a conservative, but also understand how you're going to get over. Okay, I'll leave you with this. In terms of when I heard Peter MacKay's speech, I was very impressed.
Okay.
There is a charismatic component that he has when he speaks that respectfully, because I think he was still a great leader, Andrew Scheer's knock. That's what people were knocking him on, is that when Peter MacKay announced and threw his name in, and I watched that speech, it was like, wow, this guy can win. And that's what happens, is that there's a component of elections that is in the details, like you just mentioned, but there is an emotional component. And that emotional component in recent years is what wins elections.
Well, we have a lot more. We haven't heard the first speech from Lesbian Lewis as yet. We haven't fully heard
let's hear everybody.
Yet. There are some others to come, but lots of interesting. But I just want to leave with it that the next conservative leader also needs to focus on some of the basics.
Sure.
A strong economy is important. Making justice system fair and equitable. Yes, we want to be strong on crime, but you got to have a fair and equitable system, right? You got to make sure that budget is under control, deliver a good fiscal balance and fiscal discipline, and create the environment for businesses to grow and to thrive. So we are looking for some of these things from the next Conservative leader. Yeah, we hear you on some social issues. For me, some of those issues are already settled. It's time for us to talk about the other issues
Absolutely.
as well.
And I'll leave the fact that those issues that you just mentioned are just as important in municipal government, in provincial government, and federal government, not just in leadership, but in true governance.
That's true. All right, that's it. That's a wrap for us here at On Point for this week. We had talked about a lot of things, lots to come. Stay tuned. We'll be coming back again with some more interesting topics. And as we go, I just want to remind you that you can support us here at the TCN Network. It does cost some funds to kind of keep a network going.
Yeah.
So we want to put up our website. There you go. That's the Toronto Caribbean Network website. We invite you to go to our store. There's a link that says click on the store. You can actually purchase. Do we have the store link there? Yes, there's a store. You can actually click on purchase some of those items to kind of help us to kind of keep this studio going, keep the studio alive and going. So until next week.
Great coffee.
Have some great coffee.
That's right.
And some hot chocolate out there too.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, let's have some hot chocolate too, and some herbal tea and stuff like that, and some other stuff. All right. So this is On Point. Stay tuned. See you again in 7 days.